Our fourth topic is a specific virtue of character, prudence, known to the ancient Greeks as phronesis. Prudence is, according to Western tradition, the most important virtue of character. Let's hear what Socrates in the Apology and what Aristotle in Nicomachean Ethics say about prudence. Socrates appears to refer to prudence on page 83 of the Apology. We know he does not have wisdom in the important sense, in what he calls a superhuman sense, but he says on page 83, I may have what we could call a human wisdom. That's the type of wisdom I do have, he says. And what there he appears to refer to is prudence. Prudence would be an important virtue for the activity of examining himself and others in the agora. A person who's able to deliberate well and to think about ideas is a person with prudence. So presumably Socrates had this virtue among the other virtues of character. Aristotle in the Nicomachean Ethics defines prudence and talks about its importance, especially for the political life. On page 5 of Folio A are two short extracts about prudence, defining prudence and providing some insights about this important virtue of character. According to Aristotle, to learn any kind of virtue, we ought to study the people who possess that virtue, people who are exemplars. So, for example, if we want to learn about courage, we could spend time watching and studying people who have courage, like lifeguards. If we studied lifeguards and how they prepare for dangers, we would learn something about courage. In the same way, says Aristotle, we can learn about prudence by studying people who are prudent. And he gives an example of somebody in Athenian history known for prudence, Pericles. Pericles was a general who was very good at planning for military affairs, conflicts. Pericles was good at making decisions for the city as a whole. Aristotle says that there are two types of jobs that involve prudence. One is our political leaders and managers, and also heads of household. Heads of household, fathers and mothers, farm owners, they require prudence. According to Aristotle, any virtue enables me to do some specific act or activity well. What act or activity does prudence enable me to do? The term Aristotle uses is deliberation. A prudent person is able to deliberate well. In other words, a prudent person is a person who can make good decisions. In our extracts, Aristotle emphasizes that a person who is able to deliberate well deliberates about the means to their goals. In short, a prudent person figures out what are the best means to attaining their goals. If life is composed of goals that we pursue, deliberating would be a very important activity, and prudence would be the most important virtue. Let's think of an example of prudent deliberation. Whenever we choose to travel to a destination, whenever we prepare for some important accomplishment like a first job, we think about what steps are needed to attain that goal. We think about different options and alternative routes to attain that goal. That's what deliberation is about, according to Aristotle. We think about, for example, the pros and cons of different steps or routes to some goal. We think about, for example, when we travel, about what means of transportation will be needed, how much money, what things should we pack. A prudent person is good at doing that. If we don't have prudence, well, we're hasty and we make quick decisions and we forget things. But that's not what a prudent person does. A prudent person carefully thinks over all the steps and means needed for a goal. There are many short goals that we pursue on a day-to-day basis. And then there are like life goals, like our first job or our first home, or a marriage, going to the university. So prudence on that thinking would be a very important life virtue.